welcome everybody to our next installment here at Pantheon Music Academy. We have the privilege of welcoming Alienation with us, Cam and Dustin. Go ahead and say hello, folks.
What is up, everybody?
How's it going?
Yeah, and so with Alienation comes a pretty sizable repertoire and reputation right from the Houston and local community. For those of you that don't know, Alienation has been on the dubstep and trap circuit, and most recently you guys mentioned that you guys were also working on hip-hop. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. So that's really exciting stuff, because we're gonna find out a little bit more about what hip-hop they've been working on. But right before we jump into the production side of things, give you guys a little bit of context. With Alienation as a whole, they've been featured on labels such as Trap City, Spinnin' Records, We Run It, Entertainment. They've been working and have collaborated alongside of established acts. Those established acts include anything from Dodge and Fusky, Mode Step, Crisley, T. Wayne, Cheddar to Connect, Don Tolliver, B. Simon, Mason Ray Parker, and countless many others. Today they're going to be going over music production and success in the industry, and we're going to first get started with how they even came into the radar in the first place. They had mentioned that they had a very influential friend that now has become one of their collaborators by the name of T. Wayne. Cam and Dustin, if you guys want to take it away, how did that partnership and relationship begin, and how did that bring you to where you guys are today?
So, long story short, we had a artist that we had worked with, and he kind of popped off a little bit. And when he did, he ended up hiring out a company that Wayne had invested in. It was a music video company. And long story short, that artist ended up linking us with Wayne. And one day we were sitting with Wayne in the studio, and we brought up to Wayne that we were doing EDM tracks, and we had this little library built up of them. And he ended up telling us that was something he was super interested in and had wanted to get into from the get-go. And we ended up showing him a track that we ended up calling Feel the Vibe. And after that, it was really game on for us. And the first collaborative piece of work that we did was a song called Hotbox. Hotbox ended up getting signed on to Trap City, and then it also signed over onto Spinnin' Records. So we got to do a double deal on that one. And that just really changed the game for us. And so what Wayne coming into the picture and collaborating on all that with us, it literally took us from we got rocket launched out there. It was insane.
Wow. And how long had you guys been already working or producing music before that relationship even started?
Dustin, how long were you?
Man, I didn't find my passion for music and mainly EDM until I was living out in California, and while you were out there. And when I came back, that's whenever I started going to the Art Institute. And I remember that he produced music, and I was like, dude, let's link up. Let's produce some music. And he EDM hadn't even hit Texas yet. Skrillex hadn't released freaking Cinema yet. It didn't get big. And I was showing him all these tracks, and he caught on, and we kind of aimlessly made music for a while. And then we kind of found this similar page. And that's when T. Wayne just happened to come around, and it started to work out.
Were you guys already Alienation before T. Wayne came in, or how did you and Cam and Dustin, how did you guys come together in the first place? Did you guys come together through music, or was a friendship there before that?
We were friends since high school. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we met way back in high school, but then we really got tight. Dustin's a former Marine, and so he was stationed out. What was it, Fort Pendleton?
Camp Pendleton out in
Camp
California.
Pendleton, and so they weren't too far from Los Angeles. So on the weekends, we would always link up, and then we go hit Hollywood. We were way underage, but we would go have freaking fun, dude. And so that was where we really became brothers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And without him coming up to LA like that, he wouldn't have gone. What was it you went to? You went to something.
Oh, that was the last
to work
year.
security.
No. It was some other little festival out in Riverside, and that's when I was like, "Well, what is this?" I thought EDM was just straight techno, Beethoven remix, trance, right. and that's where I found house and dubstep and drum and bass and hardstyle, all of it. I was like, what is all of this? Like, I was mind blown. And then from then on, I was like, I gotta find out like how this was created and like the history behind it and everything. And I was hooked. So now that's what I've been doing. My path has been on this ever since.
Very cool. And Cam, what about you?
So, man, I started when I was like a kid with this stuff. I was just like always fascinated by it. So, I mean, all the way up through junior high, high school, after, like, I never stopped with it. But I just always kind of did it on the side, like as a hobby, up until I remember I was in the studio one time, and some artist happened to be walking by, and he asked me where I got the beats from that I was working on. And I told this dude, I was like, nah, I made them. And that dude turned around and was like, yo, I'll buy some of those from you.
All right.
I was just like, hold on, what? I just like stumbled on an industry that I didn't even know was a part of the business at the time. Just kind of, I was like, oh, whoa, there's something going on here. And that is when I shot down that production route. Right. It was like I went straight down a rabbit hole.
And then how long was it from the time that you guys first got involved in music production to the point that you guys both linked up and decided to create Alienation? Where did Alienation come from?
3 years.
Yeah, it's been 3 years now.
Well, 3 years since I started like my I guess path on music production. And he's been doing it longer than I have, but like we kind of linked up and then we just kind of like just made whatever, just anything. And then we were like, okay, let's make a brand. So we've been doing Alienation for about 2.5 years, I would have to say.
Yeah.
2.5 years.
And then how did that come up in the first place? Like, did you guys sit down one day and did it just kind of make sense for you guys to work together, collaborate, or like what? Was it a happy accident, kind of Bob Ross style?
No, it was
like what?
100% happy accident. Like we were like friends. It was just brothers collaborating, just making tunes. But every time we would make something, when the two of us were messing with it, it'd come out extra good.
Right.
Versus like one of us trying to do it on our own, it's like just kind of found it easier and more fun, and we had better ideas just together.
That's super awesome.
Yeah. But so it was a happy accident. Like if you're asking, like we made this song and then Wayne shut up and we were like, dude, let's like come up with a brand name. And we sat down for a while. It took us quite a bit to come up with our name, and then once we did, it clicked. We're like, that's it. That's the one. Like,
that's the one.
Freaking market the hell out of that. Like, let's do that.
Perfect. And that brings you to where you guys are today. And so going over your relationship with T. Wayne, how did that skyrocket or jumpstart your guys' career? I mean, there's a lot of notable artists that you guys have worked with. How did those connections develop in a way that allowed you guys to, did you reach out to them? Did they reach out to you? How did those conversations occur?
So as far as all that goes, I mean, there was a lot of people working, like, because we run it as basically acts as almost like a management / record label. And so like that company is owned by Wayne and then another dude named Cheddar, and Cheddar had that song Flick of the Wrist. Look at the flick of the wrist. And then him and Wayne, they started that together. And so they signed us. And about a month later, they actually ended up signing a dude named Don Tolliver. And Don is the dude that Travis Scott just signed. And he's on that Can't Say record with them from like the Astroworld album. And he's been out there on tour. So like Wayne and them, they're out here changing people's lives, dude.
Really cool.
Like it takes one person like that to just come in there and rock with you. It's vibe. That's what it is. Like the music's going to speak for itself, right? Like if you have a wit and you can make music, the music should already be doing a lot of your lifting at that point.
Right.
But like that vibe, like if somebody like that believes in you, they will change your life with the snap of your freaking fingers.
That's incredible. And
it happens. It happened to us. I watched it happen to Don right after us.
Wow, what an awesome story. And so what lies in store for you guys moving forward in like, let's say, the next couple of weeks or months to come?
All right, so right now there's a couple like major projects we're working on. So Wayne's got an entire album that is going to be dropping. And so on that one, we were responsible for like a lot of the production on that, but then as well as like all the mixing, the mastering, all of that. We did all of that entire process too. So we got that coming up. And then as well, we got an entire EP that we're pushing to have wrapped up in November for a launch in December. So
very cool. Well, we're looking forward to it. And so now moving forward onto the actual, the meat and sauce and the actual bones of what makes you guys the quality producers that you guys are. I heard you guys have a special treat for us. You guys have, is it a hip hop based track that you guys want to showcase?
Yeah. So this one, it popped off really good. Let me get it pulled up on this other screen over here so I can give y'all some context of what the hell I'm going to show you. Bear with me. All right. Y'all seen this all right?
All right. Yeah, we see it.
So this is the track here.
All right. And we have a good amount of views on it. I see a 5 point.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5.19 million.
Yeah. Fun. Yeah. You know what the fuck
like
going on, man?
Everywhere.
Yeah.
This thing popped off.
Hey. I told him, fuck Russ. You ain't shit. You a bitch, diamond wrist. Peep the drip. Water whip, plank Jane. No Musain. Shawty wanna give me brain. Cause the fame. Yeah. I'm coming live and direct. I got you niggas upset. Hopping out the
So, as you notice,
That is
like simplicity.
That is a fat 808.
Yes. There's nothing crazy going on. And that's what I was going to start everybody with over here. Because there's a little bit more to what we're doing under the hood here to gear at the EDM world than like people would catch.
Right.
Like, for example,
There's a wit here to what we're doing. So when we're making these tracks, right, we want to have like a lot of these sets and stuff that we play when we're out here performing, like for like, doing the dubstep shows. There's a lot of rap mixed in there. So we gear these when we're producing these for Wayne, for just that straight trap and hip hop world. We're producing these in a way that they would instantly blend in with our set. So we're staying like a lot of F minor, E minor, F sharp. You get what I mean?
Okay. So you guys are working with a very specific.
And we're playing all these in that 140 to 150 BPM. So it's like it's already set up for it.
I got you.
So a lot of these, that's what we geared at. And so like this track here, like there was a ton of the guys, like Riot 10 was dropping it. I know Crisley dropped it. But it's just because they can so easily blend in and out of these things, and they're set up for it. Almost just like little vocal breakdowns, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And so like on this, what I always start with, and Dustin and I would just sit down and just start putting these little patterns together. And get out of all that. Bear with me 1 second. There we go. So on this, you can see this is about as simple as it's going to get. I've got a TM88 kick running.
Okay.
As far as the processing goes on this, there is nothing happening.
Wow. So it's just a simple kick.
Yeah.
Huh.
And it's cranked. Because think about it, see, I just got this thing cranked all the way up.
Okay.
Then here in the level adjustments, I'm doing it again. I'm just basically soft clipping the ever living daylights out of this kick. I'm busting every meter with it. But it works when you're out. Now, 808. This is just something I've made, okay? The original sample it comes from there's an 808 called the Spins 808. If people make hip hop and you don't have that, you are out of there. I can supply it. But this is one I made. It's just that Spins 808 and it's just distorted.
Okay.
And I've got it keyed. I don't have any type of envelope or anything running on it. It's just releasing the full length of that 808 every time. But
I see that you did the same thing, and where you have it almost clipping. You busted all the volume on the 808.
Yes.
And you turned up the volume, within the level adjustment right there as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so is the distinction that you make as far as sample selection is concerned, it sounds like you're just picking high quality samples.
Yeah, I'm making sure that what I got is like already just knocking.
Makes sense.
Like I want it to already sound good before I mix it. That way I'm not forcing anything.
Yeah.
It's like
if you're gonna choose a sample, you know, like you want to have a good sample. You don't want to try to polish a turd, you know, like it's,
yes. Otherwise, you are polishing a turd,
and it messes with your workflow and everything. So, you know, if you're gonna use samples, like I said, like,
you know, I have a very friendly beginner question: is how do you determine what is a turd versus what is, you know, what's worth polishing, right? I think a lot of beginner producers have a habit of working with with specific samples that might not always be optimal. Is that something that comes over time? Is there some type of suggestions or guidelines that you guys use that might make that process of selecting the right sample easier?
well, okay, here's my way of putting it. So if you're gonna choose a sample, like let's say like a bass, like a saw or like a heavy saw or something like that. You want to make sure that wherever you're placing that in the frequency spectrum, it's going to fill it out already versus like something that's real flat or just kind of thin or something like that. If you are going to use something like that, then layer it with something else, you know what I mean? But you want to find what you like about that sample, what you want to bring out of that sample. And if you can't do that, then I think you should just move on to a different one. If you're going to use a sample.
Right.
I mean, if that makes any sense to anybody listening.
Yeah, Cam, do you have any suggestions on sample selection?
man. My biggest thing is just like checking that, like the tonality of it.
That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, like and me personally, the way that I targeted it is like the fatter the 808, the shorter and snappier I want that kick. You know what I mean? Just always have something that's just short and punchy. It's going to sound better.
And that falls right into what Dustin was saying, and where like you have each sample to fit a very specific part of the frequency spectrum, right? Like the kick and the 808 aren't clashing with each other.
Right.
Yeah, because I don't got any crazy side chain or ducking. They're just going to knock together.
Sounds good.
See, by this itself, it's like, what the heck?
Yeah.
And so you can see, like here, again, it's just variations of that.
Okay. Great. So you started the track out first with the drum pattern and with the kick and the 808? Okay.
So I always, and Dustin, I got him doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of like working this little workflow where, like, personally, like me, and Dustin could tell you different. I like to find this like little like bounce with the flow. So I'm like looking for like a vocal there as I'm making any type of hip hop based track, like off the rip. I'm trying to find like a bounce that I like know, like a flow or rhythm that you can keep using.
I need a new thing. Caught a new chain in the pink rain. Southwest Airline, that's a plane chain. I just dropped a bag.
So like what I would be doing at that point is I would be coming up with some type of like cadence. So like obviously this vocal would not be there yet, but you're going to have this hi-hat.
You just hum it out. No. I mean,
yes. Something, yeah. Something, yeah. Something, yeah. And then like you get this little cadence, but we record that little crappy cadence in there, and we turn that crappy cadence into words. Does that make sense?
I see. So you already have a pattern and cadence established in the track before you even have the vocals ready.
Yeah, and the reason we do that is that now everything's going to cohesively fit together so much better than it would if you're just trying to throw some freaking words in a pen and paper, because now the voice is nothing but like a percussion. Yeah, it's percussion at that point.
I understand.
And it's a rap vocal, right? So
yeah,
that also like subliminally, you're going to be hearing it a little more natural than you would if somebody's just trying to rap a bunch of words at you.
Makes sense.
So it's like underneath it all, it's grooving a little bit better, a little bit different.
So did you guys like when you guys were working with T Wayne, what was the relationship like in order for you guys to like, did you guys like show him part of a track and then he kind of gave you guys some feedback and you guys use that feedback in order to adjust the music or adjust the track, or how much of it was complete of the track itself was complete before T Wayne got the opportunity to actually do the vocals, or were they completely separate projects?
Okay, so like this one, and the one of the things that happens a lot, Dustin will tell you this. You have very limited time when like you're in these sessions and stuff with these guys. You got very limited amount of time to pull off something dope, and for us, it's a lot more efficient instead of digging through a library. If you know what an artist's sound is and kind of like what will catch their ear, you can cook it up a lot faster. And that's why a lot of these hip hop beats end up being a lot simpler. We've got 10 to 15 minutes to create a track and have these guys in the booth before they lose interest. You got to catch it in the moment. And like, that's why we start with those drums and start coming up with that little bounce with the vocal, because it's already rocking and rolling. And then you just got to put some type of melodic element back there behind it to kind of carry and just give a feeling of some sort.
I gotcha.
Yeah. And then you can also use that technique when making like trap, like EDM trap music as well, because that's
the same.
It is. It's hip hop with a drop. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, and so like we copy that same formula. We do the same thing, whether it's like future bass, dubstep, trap. It doesn't matter. It could be a pop song. Like, it's still, that method works every single time. It doesn't fail. Yeah. No matter what you're making.
Very cool. And that's a really, really good formula to follow, because it seems that they consistently just bring about a level of success, right? Whether you're working with an artist or a vocalist, or whether you guys are just by yourselves in the studio, that formula seems to consistently bring about just quality composition and arrangement.
Yeah, and like the big thing too is like efficiency and time. Like we'll have, like, I got a client that'll come down and he'll work with us, and he'll fly down from up in the Carolinas, but he's going to be here for 12 hours, but he wants, 3 custom made tracks. You got to be able to speed this stuff out. You got to have a formula and a workflow, or you're not going to be able to complete these projects. And that stuff is going to happen all the time.
That makes sense. How long did it take you guys to develop this working formula? Is it, because it sounds it's very personalized and customized towards the types of experiences and the type of work that you guys are doing. For somebody that might not have this formula down or a formula altogether, what suggestions or what type of recommendations do you guys have?
Honestly, as long as it took us to like get this formula, it's just a few sessions, because you learn from your mistakes. Like, we sit there and you fumbling around, and like you look back and the artist is kind of, we learn some things from other people as well, but we find what works the best, and we just incorporate it with the other techniques that we use as far as like producing music efficiently and quickly. But what was the second part of your question, Chris?
As far as how would you recommend, so that's how you guys learned your formula, right? You'd look at an artist and you can tell kind of their attention span to determine whether or not they were hooked or not. What suggestions do you guys have for somebody that wants to learn a formula of their own? I mean, it definitely sounds like you guys were definitely more focused on learning from you guys' successes and some from the mistakes. Is there like a particular idea that you guys had in mind when you're saying, okay, like, we want to make sure that the next client that comes through these doors, that they're going to be impressed? Cam mentioned that he did a little bit of homework on the vocalist that would be coming in, and get an idea of their style, or get an idea of what might catch their ear.
So
like doing research, like knowing what kind of bounce you need. I always call it the bounce. So like that's why I always say like coming up with that cadence, right? Because like 21 Savage is gonna have a certain sound to him, a certain tonality that just sticks out, right? So if you just kind of are producing a little track and you're just kind of humming like that over the top of it, you're gonna be able to pick up on the vibe correct.
Makes sense. Very cool. Awesome, guys.
And it won't fail you.
If you have a track like that you've produced or you're producing, right? You're like halfway through it and you can't hum anything to it. It's just you're kind of forcing a hum, then start over, go back to whatever your rhythm, what you have in your rhythm, versus like the kick pattern or your hi-hat pattern, or like if you're sitting there, and you should make those first with hip-hop. I feel like you should, and even trap music. just throw those down real quick and then like hum something to it. And if you could sit there and you can just hum this cadence out for a while, then you're good. You know, just throw a simple melody back there and that'll help out with you know, anybody that comes through, because hip hop is just kind of like that rhythmic, you know, cadence as far as vocals.
That's a perfect guide. And see, I always like when we're first starting out like a track discussion, because we have a good amount of content to discuss with this particular track. But the reason that I wanted to focus on a little bit of the psychology and mentality is that with the right mentality, folks at home will be able to recreate something that is unique to them, but equally as effective, right? Because the thinking that got you guys this particular type of content is really, that's their secret sauce. That's ultimately what allows you guys to be able to create this high level of tracks for your artists, for your older vocalists. And so my hope is that as we continue this conversation, that we continue not only talking about the technique, but understanding the psychology of what allowed you guys to think or come up with the technique in the first place. Mm-hmm. And that way folks can kind of personalize that for them and make it a little bit more unique, a little bit more theirs, rather than them just copying what they saw from either Alienation or any other artist, without really understanding why they're doing it.
Right.
Very cool stuff. So you guys had mentioned, so you guys had the kick part, the kick and the 808 down. You had some percussive elements to kind of simulate a cadence. What came after that?
All right, and then right after that, I'm going to have to go to here real quick. So, Omnisphere's on 10. This is where I had some fun. So I started with the Omnisphere. Am I getting anything?
No. Oh, you have the channel muted.
Boom. Rookie. All right, here we go. So that's all I started with. Is that right there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that is as simple as it could get. And then to give it a little bit of sauce, I came in here, and I like to use this like time manipulation stuff a lot. So this, I'm in like the TM88. Okay, it's got this little like reverse effect on it. So once you enable this, it's gonna turn that sound around in like this flangey reverse way. So you can hear it. 2. It's way more eerie.
Right.
That thing's like reversing but staying on beat, which is nice. And I took it just to give it more bounce. I just do that kickstart. I like to do this on these rap instruments, just like you would do
any kind of
in any type of EDM type of situation, right? You're always adding a bounce, hiding it in there a little bit. I do it on all the trap stuff too. And then here, all I did was resample it. And the reason I did that is when you use some of these like built-in plugins in FL like Gross Beat, you're gonna get like a slight delay, so it's just easier to resample it in than to offset everything else. So that's all I did, was just record it here.
And that's to save you on a little bit of processing and buffering.
Oh yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
You can see. So if I go into the playlist now, I was turning that Gross Beat on and off on those piano notes. But after I resampled it back in, it's just this.
Thank you guys so much for joining and tuning into our channel. You can find us and any of our 30-minute video excerpts for free on YouTube. You're also more than welcome to join us directly on our live stream. Visit our website at pantheonmusicacademy.com, subscribe with your email address, and you'll get notices the moment that we go live on stream. If you weren't able to catch any of our past presentations simply because you missed them or you just didn't have the time, no worries. For just the cost of a $5 cup of coffee a month, you'll be able to gain access to our entire video library. How cool is that?
Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube.